1, 2, 3, 4. This chord progression is in the key of G and features an ascending string of chords in the first two bars that is then repeated. This ascending line is played with open string chords and the bass moves up within the G major scale. And it does that from the A to the B to the C to the D. After playing that twice, we move to the G chord with a 5-to-1 chord progression, D being the dominant in the key of G. The ascending line of the bass, in this case the roots of the chords A minor, B minor, C, and D, create an expectancy. Something is about to happen, and it does when we land on the G chord. The expectation is satisfied. This ascending bass motion works especially well in an intro and in a pre-chorus. A good songwriter always takes the motion of the bass note of the chords into account. Together with the melody note, this is the first note a listener will hear, and the bass motion sets the overall atmosphere. Any chord progression that features an upward sequence in numerical order, so 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, will create an expectation. The same upward sequence can be achieved by using inversions of chords. 1, 2, 3, 4. Clearly the bass motion is downward from an A to a G to an F and to an E, but we can make the bass go up if we use inversions. If we use a G over B chord, for instance, and an F over C, and then we do end up with this progression going from A minor to a G over B to an F over C and to an E minor chord. The bass moves up from an A to a B to a C and then to an E. The rising sequence of bass notes creates the same type of expectancy as we've seen before. Now granted, it's not as strong as the previous example. Note that when you're doing this in a solo guitar setting, you might end up with some odd-shaped chords or fingerings of chords that are hard to play. The bass motion might get a bit obscured and you might need to switch from 5-note chords to 4-note chords. But in a band setting, this ascending bass line can be played by the bass player while you keep playing your root position chords. The overall effect will be of an ascending bass motion. This approach of looking at the bass motion using inversions also works for descending lines. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the chords that I played. It's a D major chord, then a D over a C sharp, a B minor, an A major, a G major, a D over F sharp, an E minor, an A major, and ending on a D chord. Now the bass walks down nicely from a D to a C sharp to a B to an A to a G, an F sharp, and to an E before moving up again to an A and to a D. In this one we've used a few inversions, the D over C sharp for instance, which is actually a D major 7th chord and has the 7th in the bass, which is a C sharp note. This is called the 3rd inversion of a chord. And we've seen the D over F sharp before, which is a D major chord with the major 3rd, the F sharp, of the chord in the bass, which makes it a 1st inversion. This downward bass line motion often makes for a reflective, pensive mood, sometimes a bit depressing or sad. A song like Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce is a great example for downward moving bass lines in major and minor. The end of a blues progression features the most common downward bass motion. In a blues in G, for instance, the chords played in bar 9, 10, and 11 are a D7 to a C7 to a G7, going down from D to C to G. Depending on the melody and the lyrics, you can match or mismatch these ascending or descending bass lines. If the mood of your lyric is depressing or sad, you can strengthen it by moving the bass in a descending line. More emphasis on this mood can be laid by also singing a downward melody. The chords I'll be playing here are an A minor, an A minor over G, a D7 over F sharp, an A minor over F, and then ending on an E minor chord. The melody will be this. You went and left me. You can also mismatch these lines and create a more complex texture. Chords stay the same: A minor over G, D7 over F sharp, A minor over F. I look in your eyes and see. So what's he gonna see? Is she packing her bags or she moving in with him? Whenever you've written a chord progression, zoom in on the bass motion and look at what you can add. You can also use these effects of ascending and descending bass lines while you're composing your chords. Now, there are, of course, only 3 types of bass lines. The bass stays the same, which is also called a pedal bass. The bass moves up, or the bass moves down. The most pleasant movement for the ear is always a stepwise motion. And the bass player in your band will always take this into account. Please stop the lesson and take a listen to the MP3 that comes with this lesson. The song is called Sketches of Pain and is an instrumental guitar composition. The MP3 starts in the middle of the song. Listen to what the bass plays in the second part. My friend Marcello Briganti plays a pedal bass the first time round, and the second time round he moves down with the chords. By playing the same note under a chord sequence, you're kind of holding the progression back a bit, which gives you a different feel from playing the same progression with the bass playing all the roots of the chords, which he does the second time around. Some of the more cliché pedal bass progressions that were discussed in Chord Cookbook are attached to this lesson. In a solo guitar setting, you're limited in the use of pedal bass notes. Often we can only use open strings while changing the chords on top. A great way of incorporating a pedal bass is by using 3-note chord sequences on the middle or top strings of the guitar. Listen to this progression, for instance. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now listen to the same progression with a pedal A bass. 1, 2, 3, 4. The middle 3 notes that I'm playing are the major triads A, D, G, and E in different shapes. The pedal A string glues all these chords together. Some hit songs use a pedal in one section of the song, creating a contrast between a relatively static mood and a part where you're moving. Some songs like Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight keep the same bass note ringing throughout. Good choices for the use of pedals in your composition are the tonic of the key that you're in or the fifth of the key.